Today we're talking about the new updated Spartus Ballista, a gorgeous looking paddle with some really interesting tech for a more control-oriented player. Quick in the hands, soft off the face, and really nice to look at. We'll dive into accurate spin numbers, power rankings, sweet spot analysis, and control rankings to see how the newly updated Spartus Ballista stacks up against the competition. So without further ado, let's dink straight into it. The new Spartus Ballista comes in at $159. You can get 16 bucks off by using code STS PICKLEBALL at checkout, making the price just $144. Also, the Ballista comes with a free neoprene paddle cover and edge protection tape, which is pretty solid given the price point and the tech they're implementing here. I keep saying the new Spartus Ballista because they have recently updated it and made this paddle way better than the original. It's thermoformed, has updated, more durable face grit, and they have now made it lighter and changed the weighting to give it a swing weight of only 110, which for an edgeless paddle of this shape is a really low and agile swing weight, beating out the Selkirk Vanguard Power Air by just 2 points and the Project 005 by 10 points. It doesn't quite beat out the Project 003 Invicta, which comes in at a swing weight of 105, but it feels very similar, and if you know paddles, you know the 003 Invicta is lacking some major power. And even though the newly improved Ballista is a control-oriented paddle, it still has more power than the 003, which is a nice addition. The S on the front of the face just looks really freaking nice. I love the minimalist design, no edge guards in sight, nothing adding unnecessary swing weight or bulk. It just looks really clean and modern, which is definitely a style I love, aesthetically speaking. One interesting thing Spartus did here with the new Ballista is added weighted tape around the perimeter of the paddle on the inside, which spreads out the sweet spot as if you had added lead tape to the edges. And you can definitely feel this in practice. We'll dive further into that in the sweet spot analysis and control categories, but I wanted to note that here because it's pretty damn cool. I love when companies innovate and do things like this. The edge of this paddle is strengthened with 3 layers of carbon fiber and an added layer of fiberglass, which gives it a really premium and durable feel. The Ballista is a unibody design at 16mm thickness, a grip length of 5.4 inches, which is a touch tight on two-handed backhands, but if you're okay with putting one finger up on the paddle, or if you have a bit smaller hands, this will definitely work for you. Personally, I don't utilize two-handed backhands all that often as I go for drop shots more than anything, so this grip length works well for my game. The grip circumference is 4.125 inches, which is my preferred circumference, and the average weight is 8 ounces. The face material here is Toray T700 carbon fiber with epoxy resin and granule paint. And the Ballista has a compacted cell polypropylene honeycomb core. Okay, let's jump into some spin numbers. The spin for the Spartus Ballista is 1870 RPM measured and averaged over 20 serves. I noticed when I was ripping drives and serves, the ball was getting plenty of spin and felt really nice off the face. I would consider this to be more mid to upper tier in spin and not quite top tier, but very close. I think if you're a player who likes to be a bit more aggressive and hit drives and then transition into the control game, I would recommend adding some lead tape to the Ballista for sure. But this paddle really isn't aimed for that type of player per se. The swing weight is already so low, adding some lead tape to the 4 and 8 o'clock positions is just going to add more power, make the sweet spot even larger, and help add some linearity to your dinks and your drops. Personally, I added one 5-inch strip of lead tape to those 2 positions, and I'm enjoying it much more than the stock version. So to compare the spin of the Spartus Ballista to some of the big brands in the space, we have the Yola Perseus coming in at 1796 RPM, and the new Selkirk Lab 006 coming in at 1833 RPM in my testing. Not to mention the Perseus is $249 and the 006 is $333, so at $144 the Spartus Ballista is in line with those numbers. And to compare the Ballista to its direct competition, we have the Selkirk 003 Invicta at 1821 RPM, the Vatic Pro Alchemy at 1721 RPM, and the Selkirk Lab 005 Invicta at 1612 RPM. All of which have the same aerodynamic hole at the bottom of the paddle face, so in comparison to its direct competition in design, the Spartus Ballista is the winner in spin, but keep in mind it's still not the highest spinning paddle I've ever tested, but solid nonetheless. Now let's jump into the power ranking for the newly improved Spartus Ballista. The Ballista isn't created for power, but it will create more power than say the Project 003 Invicta paddle, but less power than the Selkirk Project 005 and the Vatic Pro Alchemy. but to me it feels better than all of the above as far as feel goes. But stick around for the control category to hear more about the in-depth feel of this paddle. When ripping serves and drives, I noticed consistency in my trajectory and had less out of control rips for sure, but it does remind me much more of the 003 as far as power is concerned. So as far as power ranking goes for the Ballista, I gave it a solid 7.3 out of 10 for power and a 7.8 out of 10 for pop. For reference, I have the Yola Perseus at 7.8 for power and 7.4 for pop, and the Selkirk Project 006 at 8.2 for power and 7.5 for pop. But keep in mind the price point of these paddles are way more expensive and they don't have nearly as good of control. And to compare the Ballista to its direct competition in design, we have the Selkirk Labs 003 Invicta at 6.9 for power and 7.6 for pop, the Vatic Pro Alchemy at 8.6 for power and 8 for pop, and the Selkirk Labs 005 at 8.7 for power and 8.4 for pop. So let's jump into the two categories now where this paddle really shines: sweet spot and control. The sweet spot for this paddle is massive. I mean, as far as sweet spot to face ratios go, this is a pretty incredible one. The sweet spot feels like it really takes up a larger portion of the face than I'm used to on really any paddle shape or design I've tried in the past. If you prioritize sweet spot first and control next on your list, this would be a great pickup to try for your game for sure. On normal elongated paddles, you have that pretty dead spot close to the edge of the paddle. I'm sure you've had those shots where you go to hit a drop or a reset or even a dink and it just dies off the paddle and doesn't even make it over the net. Well, with the Ballista, you can definitely say goodbye to those for good. I hit plenty of shots outside of the rather large sweet spot and didn't really have any issues with the ball feeling totally dead off the face. Off-center dinks, drives, resets, and drops all felt totally usable and fine, which for me is a huge plus. Also, since it's an edgeless design, accidentally hitting a ball off the hole at the bottom of the face isn't as punishing as you might think, and it does add some aerodynamics to the paddle that's noticeable while playing. So as far as the sweet spot goes, I have to give a 9.3 out of 10, tying it for the highest score I've given to any paddle. I'm pretty strict with my sweet spot ranking, and this is an incredible score. To compare that to my top ranked paddles for sweet spot rankings, we have the Move-In 13S at 9.3, the Paddletech Wave Pro V3 at 9.2, and the 6.0 Double Black Diamond at 9.1. And to compare it directly to its competition by design, we have the 003 Invicta at 8.4, the Vatic Pro Alchemy at 6.5, and the Selkirk Labs 005 Invicta at 7. A super solid standing in the sweet spot category for sure. So let's wrap this up and discuss the control and the overall feel of the Ballista. This definitely is the category where this paddle shines like crazy. It reminds me of a Selkirk Labs 003 Invicta when I'm dinking and dropping the ball. The fact that they created a feel off the face that's relative to the 003 with an edgeless design and the aerodynamic hole in the face at this price point is honestly pretty impressive, I have to admit. After my experience with the Vatic Pro Alchemy, I sort of lost hope for paddles of this design at lower price points, but this one's really solid. Dinking feels extremely easy, the swing weight makes speed ups and hand volleys a breeze, and drops always feel really plush. Resetting the ball also feels easy as the plush face dampens incoming balls really nicely. As I get better and better at this incredible game of pickleball, I find myself driving less and dropping way more. I'm still trying to figure out what paddle I will name as my paddle of the year or my ultimate favorite paddle for 2023, but as of now, I'm thinking it will be a paddle that has really solid control aspects, as it's a part of my game that I value most right now. Consistency on drops and being able to dink without feeling anxious is invaluable to me, and this paddle really does both of those things really well. So for control, I gave the newly improved Spartus Ballista a 9.3. To compare that to the Perseus at 7.4 and the Selkirk Lab 006 at 7.3, it definitely dominates some of the most popular and most expensive paddles in the space as far as control goes. And to compare that directly to its competition in shape and design, we have the Selkirk Labs 003 at 8.8 out of 10, the Vatic Pro Alchemy at 7.4, and the Selkirk Labs 005 at 7.5 out of 10 for control. I think again, honestly, if you're the type of player who loves to drop the ball, prioritizes dinking and the high percentage game, and you love the look of this paddle, this is a great pickup for you. Dink that like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, and have a freaking wonderful day.